I've been. There's many different ways. There's many different reasons. The first method I was exposed to was I used to be a martial arts instructor whenever I was younger, and we used to meditate before and after class. And that's a meditation to like kind of just calm your blood pressure down and kind of focus on your moves and stuff like that. But what I've evolved into is there's a book by Shakti Gawain. It's called Creative Visualization, and check it out. I'm speaking into this microphone right here. You're speaking into. You have a computer in front of you. You have something on your wrists and stuff. Everything we can touch, everything in this world, that is tangible. It started out as someone's idea, right? Everything started as someone's idea until they put enough energy behind it, enough work behind it, till it manifested itself into the physical world. Follow me? So, if you want to accomplish something in your life, you can meditate, visualize, plant the seed. Plant that same seed that gave birth to all these things in your mind, put it out there, and put work behind there. And it's almost like you're hacking the system, because I don't want to get into quantum physics, but there's a really there's a fine line between things just happening and you making things happen. I've been doing this system since the early '90s, and you might call it coincidence, but whenever you have enough coincidences in your life, you kind of I don't care what you label it as, I don't care what you might call it, I don't care what other people call it. I found enough coincidences in my life to prove to myself that if I apply this method, I can accomplish certain things.
So what discipline is it? Is it TM?
Well, no. That's transcendental meditation, for those who don't know what that is.
That's the expensive one.
That is the expensive one, and that's a cult. Come at me. Whatever. I just don't, I don't believe in that system. My system, I originally started out was the Silva mind control method, and you can look that up. It was created by Dr. Jose Silva, but there's another person out there named Shakti Gawain who wrote this book called Creative Visualization, and it's along the similar lines. Now, some people at this point are like, oh, it's like The Secret by Oprah. Right, well, it's the same principle, but what Oprah, and I never read The Secret because I don't believe in pop culture.
Wait a second. You worked in a studio where Tupac got killed.
Yeah, I didn't even know I was kissing Missy Elliott on her forehead either.
Fair enough.
So, but from what I do hear, that the problem with The Secret is that it doesn't really emphasis putting the work behind it. I mean, like, okay, I'm going to sit here and visualize I'm a millionaire. Well, okay, what are you doing to make those steps possible? And you got to be careful what you wish for, because I'm telling you, this is strong. You might wish for $1 million to fall in your lap, but are you prepared to get hit by a bus and enter a lawsuit and not be able to walk for the rest of your life?
My brother-in-law hit me with an old Asian proverb. It was a story, could be better, could be worse. And basically, every misfortune that you're handed in this fable is balanced out by some prosperity, and then as soon as you prosper, you're hit with reality again. So life is a balance. So maybe you're saying meditation will help you with that balance?
Well, I mean, that balance is equanimity, and that's what the 0 points on my wrist over here represent. It's equanimity, where you do find that balance. You don't get too excited, you don't get too depressed or anything like that. But that's your own call. How you decide, how you choose to look at a situation makes all the difference. I mean, your reality is your reality. Whether something is true does not matter. If you put enough energy and you believe it's true, then it is true until you make it come true. Right.
So you are now in the Philippines. You are meditating, and you have the seed has been planted, as you would say, for creating a nonprofit to feed these children in Manila that so desperately need it.
100%.
As you would say, what is the first step to making that a reality?
Right on. You're right. And so while I was still in the Philippines, I started entering into my visualizations this concept of having a nonprofit, right? 3 days later, I'm heading back home. I'm in the Manila airport. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's a very crowded place.
No, I have not.
There's me. I'm the only white guy. Well, there's this other white guy there who happens to stand in line behind me, and I'm like, hey man, this is the first time I'm going back to the States. Am I in the right space? I'm trying to get back to. And he's like, don't worry, you're on the same plane as me, no problem. So we start talking. His name was Lance Little. And he was the CEO of this nonprofit called Fight Hunger with Hunger, that fed children in the Philippines. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! You're the guy I've been looking for, So we played cards in Beijing at our layover and stuff, and we became close, and we kept in touch. And he was going back to the States to handle some business. I was going back to New York City to work this gig at the World Trade Center. But we kept in touch, and I would always keep an eye on his social media to see how things were going and everything like that. Right?
What year is this?
2006, late 2016, October. Really strange thing about the Philippines. Right now, they're starting to play Christmas music in all the stores in September.
And they celebrate it at the same time we do.
They do, but I do believe the economy is so bad. You know how we push it here like right after Thanksgiving. They do it like before.
A little extra.
A lot extra. Yeah.
A lot.
Extra. But anyway, that's just a nod.
Hey, listen, I hope that people who listen to this not only end up helping and donating to fight hunger with hunger, and we'll obviously explain to them how that can be done and what is being done with that money, but I also hope they learn some stuff. You're an interesting guy, Sax.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
So don't let me interrupt you. Go. We're back. We are on a layover, and you're playing cards.
Well, we're past that point now, and I'm back in the States, and I'm observing Fight Hunger with Hunger's social media, and I'm watching their Instagram, and there was a little girl named Akeisha, and Lance said, and what happened was there in a certain area in Las Piñas called the Cosme Compound, a little girl named Akeisha, the mumps came and hit her village, and the medicine's not really good there, and I can't remember the medical term, but her tongue swelled out of her face. It was like this big out of her face, and he came across her like a year later, and he was like, look, I gotta make a special announcement. Like, we don't normally do this, but I've come across this little girl. Can you imagine what it's like? I employ you. If you're a girl a grown girl in the States, like you've gone to your prom, you've had dates and stuff like that. This girl's never going to experience that. We got to do something for this girl, right? And it just broke my heart. I mean, I was just like, yes, and then I got really involved at that point, and I was like, look, we got to spread awareness for this little girl, and and he was trying to raise enough money for her operation to get this done. And it's not like here, like, oh, just take it to the hospital. I mean, they have to import a doctor and stuff because this is like a rare disease and stuff like that. And long story short, like right in the nick of time, they were able to fight. The organization was able to find a corporate sponsor to take care of this operation for this little girl.
Do you recall who that was?
I do not. I do not. And so they everything was looking good, and they maybe we could post pictures of later.
Yeah, we'll put it up right now.
And the operation went well, kind of, and then the doctor's going back. There was some excessive bleeding, and it was a really tense moment and stuff like that. And the doctors went to check on her. Everything was fine, and they turned around 5 minutes later. She died. It took him a while. It took him a little bit of time to tell me this because of the gravity of the situation, and I immediately started crying whenever he told me this. It really killed me, and it really reminded me. You ever see Star Wars, the original Star Wars?
Sure.
You see the first part where there's like the battle between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then Luke comes across the battle, and he looks at Darth Vader. He goes, "You strike me down when I become stronger. If you kill me now, I'm become stronger than you could ever imagine." Like, kills him, and his spirit jumps into Luke, and that's just the way it felt for me. That's exactly how I felt.
This gave you the drive to really
absolutely
fire up.
I needed to do something. Yeah. I know I needed to do something at that moment. And I dedicated myself, and my meditations, my visualizations went straight back to Asia. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I know I got to do something. And
so you reconnect with your friend from Fighting Hunger with Hunger.
Well,
by the way, their tagline, I love it: fighting injustice with just us.
Yeah, that's their line, just us, right? So we always kept in touch, but now it's getting a little bit more serious, and especially after a moment like this, we get a little, more involved and stuff like that. And after a minute, I noticed that his social media just like kind of stopped, and I said, "Hey, is everything okay? What's going on?" It's like, well, volunteer kind of dropped out. That was taking care of that. We can't really do it. I'm like, you mind if I take over? Because I built up my workout IG to pretty well. I have an idea of how to handle this stuff. He goes, by all means, please. So I dismantled it, and I restarted it, and I built up their followers for a nonprofit guerrilla tactics. I got over 1,000 followers. It's like, man, it's just really good. So I started, just getting, spreading the word here and there. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna find donations for this company. I'm gonna get them so many donations. We're gonna put the word out and everything. And I tried, and I was like, man, I realized how hard it was to get donations for these nonprofits. It's like impossible.
I mean, let's face it. There's a lot of competition.
Not only a lot of competition, but by law
and suspicion. People are very suspicious.
That's exactly it. And I'm glad you mentioned that because by law, a nonprofit only has to donate 5% of their their proceeds towards
Sinful.
the cause. you know?
Absolutely sinful.
Well, Lance and Fighting Hunger with Hunger, they are a 100%, and we could prove that. I could back this up. We have it on the website, actually. 100% angel charity. Every penny that you give that's donated there goes directly to those kids. None of us got paid.
I'm listening. I give $50. Where does it go?
It goes straight into the mouths of the children in the Las Piñas area, a Talon 3 school district, and or the Hood program, whichever you specify.
Now, you were telling us off air a little bit more about, the challenges. Let's face it, again, there are challenges associated with raising money, and maybe you've splintered off and refocused energy. Tell us about the Hood program.
Could we get to
Yeah.
So I realized that it was very hard to get donations for this, and then I started thinking. I put on my thinking cap, John, and I was like, what if we got a farm? What if we got a farm and grew the food and then fed the kids? I mean, what the heck? That sounds like
In the Philippines.
In the Philippines, yeah. So I started meditating on that. 3 days seems to be the magic number. 3 days later, I get hit up by this woman, Ida Roque. God bless her. She was like, hey, I see what you're doing. I like what you're doing. I have a farm in the Philippines. I want to help. I'm like, you have a farm. Can you please tell me how it's done? I need to know the mechanics of this. I'm trying to do this farm. I'm going to do this thing. I want to do this farm to raise this food, to feed these kids. She's like, no, you don't understand. I want to give you half of my farm. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, I got 7 acres out here, and I've been trying to give away half of it to a nonprofit, and nobody's taking me serious. And I'm like, yes, we want it. Yes, thank you so much. Let's do this. I'm totally down. Yeah, we're totally down. So put everybody in touch with each other, and it was like awesome, right? So my stint at the current job was kind of ending and stuff like that, and I was like, man, it would be great for me to go out there and thank her, just personally, and just kind of see how things are, to just go revisit the Philippines and stuff like that, right? So I'm talking to her. I'm like, I want to come out there and thank you, and I just want to reconnect with the charity and stuff like that. And a little bit, maybe a couple weeks go by, she goes, hey, listen, I got picked up to be on this TV show out here in the Philippines, and what the government is trying to do is we're trying to upraise the image of the farmer, the Philippine farmer. So what they want to do is they want to fly me around to different farms and film and stuff like that. It's going to be on a public station, and would you want to be my co-host? I'm like, absolutely. You kidding me? I'm down. Yeah, it'd be like the white American guy, the dangerously handsome white American guy with the